By the official numbers, Portugal's public pension system ended 2025 with a surplus of €6.7 billion. That sounds like a system in excellent health. But a government-commissioned report presented in Lisbon on Monday, August 18, 2026 says that surplus is an illusion. The working group, led by economist Jorge Bravo, calculated that the social security system actually ran a deficit of €1.94 billion last year. The difference between those two figures is around €8.6 billion, and it changes the entire conversation about whether Portugal can afford its pension promises. The report is called Reforming Pensions in Portugal, Towards a Sustainable, Adequate and Fair System, a Contract Between Generations. That title alone tells you this is not just an accounting exercise. It is a political signal that reform is coming. Today, 4 days after the report was published, the debate is intensifying, and the central question is simple. If the surplus is fake, who actually pays for Portugal's pensions? The report concludes that the social security system has been in deficit since at least 2014. That is a striking claim, because for years politicians have pointed to surpluses as proof that the system works. The Bravo Working Group argues those surpluses are largely the result of accounting choices, not operational strength. The key is state transfers. The official surplus for 2025 was reported at €6.7323 billion, but the working group says the real result was a deficit of €1.94 billion. The gap is bridged by money from the state budget, which is effectively general taxation. In November 2025, Católica Lisbon School of Business and Economics warned that the expected €6.6 billion surplus for 2026 was misleading, because it depended on around €10 billion in budgetary transfers. Strip those out, and the system has a significant structural deficit. That warning aligns almost perfectly with the new report's central finding. None of this means that pensions are about to stop being paid. The Financial Stabilisation Fund, Portugal's pension reserve, stood at €49.296 billion in June 2026. That is roughly 15.8% of GDP. According to the CGTP Trade Union Confederation, that amount is enough to guarantee 28.63 months of pension payments. The CGTP strongly rejects the new report, calling it full of falsehoods, ambiguities, and confusion. It argues the public system is solid and that the official surplus should be trusted. So there are two very different pictures. One side says the fund is a healthy buffer and the system is fine. The other side says the underlying flow of money is negative, and the buffer is slowly masking a structural problem. Both can be partly true. A large reserve fund gives time, but it does not fix a permanent gap between contribution income and benefit spending. The question is how long that fund can remain a comfortable cushion if the underlying deficit continues. Behind the accounting debate is a much bigger force: demographics. Portugal's population is aging rapidly, and the European Commission's Aging Report, published on April 29, 2026, set out what that means. It projected that pension payments are technically guaranteed until 2070, and the system is even expected to show surpluses until 2034. That sounds reassuring, but the same report warned of a sharp decline in the pension replacement rate. Today, the average pension is around 67% of a person's last salary. By the 2050s, that is projected to fall to around 37%. So the real crisis is not that pensions will disappear. The real crisis is that future retirees will receive far less, relative to their working income, than today's pensioners. Current state expenditure on pensions and social benefits is about €45 billion a year, roughly 15.5% of GDP. As the working-age population shrinks, that bill will be harder to sustain without higher taxes, later retirement, lower benefits, or a combination of all three. The immediate impact is political and personal. For current pensioners, payments are not being cut. The government has no interest in touching those benefits right now, and the reserve fund provides a buffer. For workers, the report is a warning that the promises attached to their contributions may be revised. The title's reference to a contract between generations suggests younger workers and future retirees may be asked to accept different terms. For foreigners living in Portugal, the concern is more specific. Writer Carl Munson noted on August 20, 2026 that a state with a structural deficit needs more revenue. He warned that internationally mobile residents on favorable tax arrangements are, historically, a politically convenient target when governments need to plug gaps. His advice is to monitor tax position and the quality of public services. The trade union response also matters, because it shows that any attempt to change indexation, contribution rates, or retirement ages will meet organized resistance. The political fight is just beginning. The government now faces a politically difficult choice. The report's recommendations are under scrutiny, and one of them is that pension updates should keep pace with inflation. That sounds reasonable, but it costs money and can widen the underlying deficit unless new revenue is found. Finance Minister Joaquim Miranda Sarmento has highlighted that Portugal's overall budget position is strong. The country recorded a surplus of 0.7% of GDP in 2025, and public debt fell below 90% of GDP for the first time in 16 years. That gives the government room to absorb transfers to the pension system. But a budget surplus built partly on high taxation and delayed spending is not the same as a pension system that pays for itself. The most likely near-term outcome is a slow, contested move toward reform. Expect more debate about whether official accounting should change, whether the pension fund should be used differently, and whether taxes on higher earners or foreigners should rise. The details are not settled, but the direction is clear. So the headline is simple. Portugal's €6.7 billion pension surplus is not what it appears to be. According to the government's own commissioned experts, the true picture is a €1.94 billion deficit, masked by state transfers and flattered by accounting. That does not mean pensions are at immediate risk, but it does mean the system is structurally reliant on general taxpayers. The numbers matter because they shape how politicians justify reform. If the surplus is real, no change is needed. If it is an illusion, change is unavoidable. As of today, August 22, 2026, the illusion has been officially challenged. What comes next will determine how much of the pension promise survives.